What's up? Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gents. Welcome once more to another pre-race show. I'm always here joined with my buddy Drip. Drip, welcome to the show. How you been?
Not too bad, not too bad. How about yourself?
Excited to see how these D1 drivers can tackle these unforgiving and punishing streets of Australia, as you may have already experienced. Lots of tricky oversteer and understeery corners, especially through Sector 2. And I would say that, well, for Australia, Pirelli has decided to bring C5, C4, and C3. So C5 being the softest compound available. So do you think we are gonna see some soft strats in the grid, or do you think it's gonna be medium and hards?
I think we're going to see mostly mediums and
Mm,
hards, unless we get into safety car territory at one end of the race, probably towards the back half of it,
okay.
unless somebody really thinks there's going to be an early one. Just the tire deg's pretty high
Hmm.
on this circuit.
For sure.
I know my after I don't know 12, 15 laps, my mediums were starting to scream at me in the D4 race.
Hmm.
So these guys are going to have a little bit better tire management, so maybe a little bit longer than that, but I don't know if anybody can make a medium soft work here.
Yeah,
Maybe a hard soft,
that's
but again,
ambitious.
I think it's ambitious, and I think a safety car might have to come into play for that to work. But
Hmm.
that's the only way I could see it viable.
Yeah, speaking of safety cars, I mean, we saw one at the late stages of Division X, and you guys at D4, I think they had a virtual, right? Because I remember at some point, like everybody's slowing down.
We had a virtual before my DNF. I'll
Okay,
be honest, I have not gone back and watched the rest of that
okay,
broadcast yet.
yeah, yeah.
We are recording
Understandable.
this the morning after that race, so
Understandable, yeah, yeah. I would
yeah.
be in the same boat. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there is gonna be at least a virtual. So, but like that's the thing, when does it come out? At the end, at the middle? I would agree with you that it's gonna be towards the end, through the middle pack of the field, but I don't know. I have a feeling like someone at the front's gonna go, for a move's gonna try to push to gain an undercut, and we're gonna see a car sideways. But but yeah, I mean, tire deck, as you say, is pretty high. Strategies are gonna have to vary, and I don't know. I mean, especially when you start to lose grip, like through the fast, through sector two, where's the fast chicane. I mean, I think that's one of the points where you can, where if you have high tire deck, you can get scared, because if you lose the car there, I mean, it's there's very little you can do to to bring it back.
Uh, Definitely.
Mm.
It's that left right at the end of the now very straight sector
Yes,
2
yeah, like
from all of the
yes.
changes that they've made. It's it's not the most demanding on the tires, but if you want to carry full speed, it's a lot. And once you get to like the middle and back half of that tire life,
Mm.
it's sometimes you get over onto that outside curb and the car will bounce back and forth on you. It's even though it's wide open, it's very hard to catch the car there. And a
Mhm.
lot of times you'll see drivers bring it around. D1 will probably see a little bit more of a dancing car, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I doubt anyone will. Yeah, a little bit of a back and forth.
I agree.
But
I mean, it's because I think it's one of the corners where, like you say, you want to carry as much speed as possible, so you kind of get greedy with braking. Like you feel like you can brake later than when you actually have to brake. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean,
a
it.
little bit. It's
it
it's such a stress on the tires,
mm,
and it's you want to do it as smooth as possible. So you're trying to make that left-hand transition onto that straight and get the DRS, and you're loading up those left-hand tires the entire time.
while
But
keeping the foot
if you
down.
come
Yeah.
into that brake, you got to think about the right-hander before. Even though you're using the other tires, you're loading the heck out of your front tires when you're coming into that braking zone.
Yep.
Are you
Yep.
overheating them by trying to push them too late? And that could be what makes you oversteer wide into that exit curb. It makes you do the dancing we're
Yeah.
talking about. Who cares if you have DRS? If you're not going the full speed you need to be, that car behind you is going to pass you.
Yeah. It's gonna eat
Especially
you
with
up.
the changes they've made to the end of that straightaway. That right hander at the end's now much deeper.
Like you can brake much better than what you could
Hmm.
before as well. So Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I also want to talk about a bit about turns one and two, like the little bottleneck, where if you have the outside for turn one, if you have a good exit and try to avoid like the usual carnage that happens into turn one, you might be able to get a very good run into turn two, you know, and possibly make even 4 or 5 positions. So I don't know. I think turn one is gonna be an interesting one, especially also when it's after lap one, because you know it's almost as the same situation as what you explained earlier, that you get too greedy, you go in with speed into turn one, but then you take a bit too much apex on the exit of turn two, and the car can get a little loosey goosey on the back as well. So yeah,
That's a spot that loves to catch people out. I know that's one that loves to catch me out in specific, especially when I'm practicing. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, this track is very favorable to smart car position. Like there's a lot of one that leads into two that maybe even leads into three corners. So if you can get your car on the inside, it's kind of similar to Paul Ricard in that respect, where if you can
yeah,
get on the inside of a car on one corner and not necessarily beat them through the corner, but stay with them,
exactly.
you're
Just
now on the
follow them.
inside apex for the next corner, outside on the next, you've got the better exit, and you work your way past the car rather than having to force it.
Yeah, true.
So it kind of allows you to
Mm.
kick back the tire degradation when you're going for overtakes sometimes if you're not trying to force it too much, because you can get away with it like that. But it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, like you say. You push too hard on the brakes, carry too much apex. Now you might be in an accident territory.
Like where's the line, you know?
So
Like because we know these
exactly,
drivers, like they can catch it, but how far is too far, you know? Like if you see the car like already 90 degrees, you know, like you don't know if that's coming back at some point, you know.
no. And which direction it's going to come back to could snap back the same way.
Mm-hmm. And then into the wall, like
Exactly.
violent, like a tank slapper. So I mean that's Australia. I mean it's got its fast sections, but it's also super demanding on tire load. So having said all this, having discussed the brutality of Albert Park, I want to talk a bit about predictions, because right now, I mean, we have a very interesting constructors fight. Drivers not so much, because Hudson, if he keeps performing at the level he's performing, then he might get away, you know, with 5 races left to go. So talking a bit about
Just wiping it off, nice and easy for him the way he's going.
light
He's
work
just
for
gonna
him.
keep it up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we currently have Red Bull and Alpine. Red Bull with 146 points and Alpine with 130. So you know the gap. I mean, the Red Bull drivers, they cannot relax. You know, they cannot leave the foot too much, because both Alpine drivers have been very consistent. Have been bringing consistent top 10 finishes. So you know they're on the hunt. But then again, I want to talk about a bit about the midfield. I mean, from Aston Martin to AlphaTauri, I mean, each of them have like their specific battles. So Aston Martin fighting with Ferrari, 104 to 95 points. McLaren fighting with Ferrari, 95 Ferrari to 83 McLaren. So you know, it's tight. And even going lower down the table, we have AlphaTauri, Haas, and Williams, both with 36, 27, and 21 respectively. So it's all pretty much there, you know. Like it, I think it shows the level of performance that D1 has. So, what would you say your predictions for Australia are? Who takes the crown? Red Bull, Ferrari, Merc?
I think Alpine's going to be on a big push this week. I
Okay.
think they're seeing this, everybody's seeing the same thing that you brought up there, that Hudson's starting to run away with the drivers now. And
Mm.
it looks like constructors might be the bigger championship here. And with the way Alpine's performing and Red Bull's second driver, not necessarily lacking behind, but much lower in the standings than
Okay.
Hudson is, and
Hmm.
below both Alpine drivers. I think they're going to be pushing for a very strong performance here. I think they're going to be trying to gun for a win, because if they can hop Red Bull early,
Hmm.
well, maybe not necessarily a win. I think Hudson, maybe as long as he's racing, is going to be the favorite to win, but a podium finish, because if they can jump Red Bull early, they might be able to start running away with that themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So exactly like you were saying. I mean, Red Bull can't sleep. They can't be too relaxed. But
No,
then again, I'm thinking Ferrari. They're gonna try to, you know, they're supposed to be setting a good example to D3, like everybody. But I mean D4, Ferrari, oof, they're the ones who are who are putting an example. I mean Rick Raff and Labib.
Oh, you know Ferrari strategy. They put the best drivers in the lowest division. You know, so that the best championship doesn't matter.
True, classic Ferrari.
I'm just teasing. Peter and Ian are fantastic drivers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
no
he
harm,
is.
no foul.
No. Yeah, and I mean both of them. Oof. But that's what I'm saying. Both of them, I think they're gonna look to bounce back and possibly get both of them on the podium. So
Definitely.
yeah, so something we haven't discussed yet. So we talk about our winners, but who do you think are gonna be our surprises, our losers for this GP?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
gonna ask you to answer this
All
one.
right.
Yeah, I always answer the questions. I'm gonna play the Uno reverse card.
Okay,
And
perfect.
this
Yes,
question,
yes, sir. So I'm gonna have to go with either Merck or AlphaTauri. As much as I hate to say it, because I don't know if it's bad luck, if it's just improper moves, or just generally like wrong place at the wrong time. But I mean, Maxime, Era, Razor, and BMF. I mean, you look at them like they're racing, and then like, suddenly someone has a spin, and then the car doesn't ghost, and then like I think it was in Bahrain that like Razor tries to avoid it, hits the unghosted car, has wing damage, and then Maxime, he looks super strong, but then in Miami mid-turn, his wheel disconnects, car goes straight on. I mean, it's just unlucky. So yeah, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I think those two teams are probably gonna struggle. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they shut me up, but yeah, that's my prediction.
I hope it's a flawless race and nobody gets penalties, no safety cars, so that we never have to make a negative
Yes.
thing again. Just like,
Yes.
okay, you guys can stop. We're gonna drive properly. But
Yeah.
accidents always happen, no matter how skilled you are. We watch races every week. Well, not currently, but we watch races on Sunday mornings where accidents and safety cars happen all the time. So
Yeah, I mean, it's racing, like you say, it's a part of
Exactly.
it, and yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be super exciting, and I'm really looking forward to see. Oh, before we wrap it up, quali times. Do you think 116s, 117s, or 150, or even low 115s?
I have no idea.
Okay,
I have no idea.
I'm gonna say
It's
I'm gonna say mid 115s, low 116s for now.
they they always seem to amaze and pull out some special laps every here and there. So who knows, man? We could predict 15s, get a wet quali. I don't know. So
That's gotta be interesting.
anything can happen. I would doubt it in Australia, but
It's
this
Australia.
isn't Britain.
We'll see. We'll
But-
see. So, yeah. I hope you've enjoyed. So, you have a couple of minutes. Go grab something to eat, something to drink, settle in, because D1 Australia will be right with you. Don't go anywhere.
All right, good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to Zoom Racing League's Australian Grand Prix. We are live here at Albert Park in Melbourne, Australia. We are down under in the home of eruption for Division 1 of Zoom Racing League. The track originally opened in 1953. It's been host to Formula One since 1966. 5.2 kilometers, 3.2 miles, 3 DRS zone. The newly reshaped turns 9 and 10, so it leaves us now with only 14 turns. Turn 10 now at the end of that long, curvy back straight. Like I said, 3 DRS zones. The speed trap is on the main straight, and best overtaking opportunities are going to be there into turn 1 and possibly into the newly crowned turn 12. Season 4 of ZRL had a little desync issue. Didn't actually get to race here like we originally intended to. We did quali. We did full quali. On pole was Travis Robinson, so he gets credited with the race win. P2 in that race was Ian Krieger. Peter Giordano, his teammate then and now, and the Gator, Jason Pelzer, was in P4 with Travis Robinson out, taking a hiatus from F1 at 22. Well, it's anyone's game. Are we going to see a repeat of the Ferraris? They've done a great job in qualifying. Race results have been mixed, but here's the Division 1 standings right now. It is Hudson Poole, the Hudson Hornet from Dago. Jeffrey Lawler, 74 points hit for him. Ian Krieger, even with his issues in a couple of the races, still managed to hold on to P3 in the driver standings. A pair of Alpines outperforming the pack and expectations, and there is Jason Pelzer, the Gator, P6. Eric Carvalho, the best of the Mercedes, in P7, and the boss Duncan McCamick in P8. Aaron Altmaier, Graz, and Mike Rehill, the Leaky Valve, round out your top 10. Right now, the constructors is 146 points to 130 for Alpine. 16-point gap, but the way the Alpines are performing, that gap may shrink very soon unless Duncan McCamick can turn it on here in the middle third of this season. Ferrari with 95 points, just outside of Aston Martin and ahead of McLaren. Mercedes in the mud, 62 points right in the mid-pack, when they should be leading things right now. And Buffalo Trace, your Alfa Romeos just behind the Mercedes. You got Jack Pemberton and Jordan Angus, a pair of Canadians. But Jack Pemberton has announced he's not going to be able to finish out the season. So you've got some big choices coming up.
Yeah, we do. He's announced that Spa will be his last race here, D1 ZRL, at least for Season 5, but we look forward to having him back, of course, in future seasons. I'm looking for him to finish strong. Look, over the past few seasons, Jack and Jordan Angus have been some of the most consistent, steady drivers in D1, season in, season out. And I think that, we've had a couple incidents early on. Looking forward to them starting to put it together. And I think these last two for Jack are going to be quite good.
Well, we saw a couple of interesting races this weekend. We did some cross-play testing with Division 3 and Division X. Had some of the PC guys jumping in with our Division X guys on Xbox. Didn't seem to be a big deal. However, with an Xbox person hosting, if PC guys get disconnected, they're unable to rejoin. Did some testing afterwards, and if a Steam/PC person is hosting, the Xbox people were able to leave and rejoin, which is good news for Xbox. However, it was bad news for our drivers because we had a bit of an issue with some desync, with some people flying around on track where they maybe shouldn't have been. And saw a really interesting race this weekend with Hudson Poole in another league where he got absolutely used and abused and beat up. But I got to tell you right now, Hudson Poole has a lot of pace here, kind of like he does everywhere else.
Yeah, he'll be looking to extend his lead. And Toto, well, you were out last week. I was lucky enough to have NVA in the booth as well. And Hudson had a pretty dominant win at Miami, but we saw more of the same. We saw Hudson, Dago, Ian Krieger up there. Lewis Piper actually reserving for Jordan Angus up there in the Alfa Romeo, secured a P3 as a reserve, so grateful for that. But you spoke a little bit about the Alpines earlier in the introduction. They've been probably the most consistent teammates, I want to say, throughout the season. You always see Luke Locklear, Major Castleman lumped together near the top of the grid, and I wonder if that's helped them with strategy. They both have incredible pace, and it's turned out to help them. Look, they're P2 in constructors, and I don't see them slowing down. Having both guys perform at the highest level has really helped them out.
Yes, they are amazing, and we are ready to watch them be amazing. We are ready now to go ahead and get straight into qualifying. Let's see who's going to be first out on track. It is one of the McLarens of Jason Pelzer, the Gator, looking to chomp early and often. I think it's a smart idea here at Albert Park. I noticed for us, I raced in Division 4 and Division X. It's very easy to get each other backed up and not give a whole lot of space on this track. We're going to see times dip down into the 117s. We might see a 116. It's going to be a high 16. I don't think we'll see a low 16. But these guys are quick, and unfortunately for some of them, you make that little mistake and you try to take some time to recharge your battery and keep your tires in the zone, and next thing you know, you got 4 cars upon you, and there's not much you can do. Now that we only have a couple of hard braking zones, Albert Park is going to be festive.
Yeah, it's certainly a much faster version of the Australian circuit than we saw in F1 2021. A little bit more flowy for me, a lot more enjoyable to drive kind of on a personal level. I feel like the last layout, Rebus, was like clunky, right? I couldn't get into a good rhythm. It just, the location of the turns didn't feel smooth to me, and it wasn't one of my favorites. It's better this year. I definitely like the new layout.
Yep, turns 9 and 10 were very, very tricky. That kind of a chicane right before that long, speedy section, and was going to be a DRS zone, and they decided to take that out. Jason Pelter actually stopped on track. He's going to let the Aston Martin go here. But we're going to stay. Well, we're going to stay with Pelter until he had a bit of a moment there. That's what I'm talking about. How you're kind of prepping your tires, getting them in the zone. And did he get damage? Yes, he did. So we're going to jump on board with Aaron. Was that Aaron Altmaier starting his lap? No, that's going to be Dago, Jeffrey Lawler. So let's take you around. So into turn 1, heavy on the brakes, down into 5th gear and down. This is the first DRS straight after the main straight, all the way down into this tricky right-hander where you want to go down to about 2nd if you need extra rotation, 3rd or 4th. Tricky here because the exit of this turn, you can pick up penalties in a hurry. Does barely just keep it valid. You can also run wide here, pick up a penalty if you run too far on that exit curb. This is a critical corner here for me. You want to take that in 5th or 6th gear, depending on what your setup does for you. And then from here all the way down through Sector 2 to the end of Sector 3, it is basically flat out. And if you can pick up a slipstream here, you can start to pressure your opponent just a little bit. But it is flat out in 8th gear. You're going to see some guys dumping a little bit of battery to make sure they stay in that slip so that when we come right here to the left, right there in that tricky spot where you see a lot of guys lose it out into that gravel, you pick up the DRS here down into the tight right-hander. It's been reprofiled. You can go side by side through it, but it is not ideal. A little bit of a lift and a downshift here to this right-hander down to the one of the most important, and there's why it's so important. You can invalidate, and this is your final run in, and Jeffrey Lawler is not going to try to do a recharge lap. He's going to go and come right back in as he invalidates, but that tight left-hander. And then as you turn right onto the main straight, it's very easy for cars, if they're in the wrong gear, to spin and lose it. And we actually saw that in Division 2 with Eruption, actually losing it, ghosting, and then driving backwards to get back to the pit lane.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think Jack is about to set the first timed lap of the session here as he crosses the line with 1:18.3.
Yeah, that's
something he'll look to improve upon. I mean, we saw high to mid 117s at the top of D2. And I'm expecting them, to see a lot of mid to low 17s here in D1. Yeah, you mentioned, too, how crucial turn 8 is, right? Because you can carry a lot of speed through there. As Aaron Altmaier said, to 117.8. They were in 117s already. That's just one of the most crucial tracks on the circuit, turns rather. If you don't carry enough speed through there, you can lose quite a bit of time.
Yeah, it is absolutely crucial because that exit of turn 8, like you mentioned, it sets up everything that comes after. And if you get a slow exit there, you're going to potentially lose the spot, and you're going to lose a lot of time, up to half a second. And the same thing here with the penultimate turn. You want to get that good traction down because the start-finish line is so far down along the main straight. You've got to carry a ton of speed to maximize the end of the lap. Like Maxime is starting a lap. Cal with the early time, a 1:17.8. Cal showed up and showed out this weekend, had a great result in Division 3, reserved for AlphaTauri in Division 2, ended up getting a win there. Could he make it a trifecta of podiums? I got to go back and double check the D3 results, but I believe Cal was on the podium there too. But Cal has been on an absolute tear.
Yeah, Cal actually won both the D3 and the D2 races. I was in the stream, I was in the chat, kind of wondering if that had ever happened before. A D3 driver winning the race, coming to reserve D2, and then winning that one. I'm not sure. So 2 wins already this weekend, as you see Thermos at a 1:17.7. Good enough for a professional pole.
A good lap there from him. Jeffrey Lawler about to start an out lap. Let's see if we can catch somebody finishing up a lap. The Leaky Valve, Micah Rehill, another one had a really good race this weekend. Finished from P7 in the race that Hudson was getting absolutely abused in, but Leaky Valve did a good job just hanging on through the chaos. Let's see what kind of time he can set here. Currently sitting P9 with no time set. Going to get into the top 5 early on, and the answer is yes, P4 with a 1:18.1 for the Leaky Valve, Mike Rehill.
Yeah, we'll certainly see these times go down. One thing I noticed on this track especially was the track evolution factor is considerable. I mean, you can the 3rd or 4th time around, these guys are going to be improving by almost 5/10. So I think that's one thing actually really that F122 did do right. I think the track evolution model was really good, and you'll see these times start to tumble later in the session.
Good early time from Maxime. And Maxime's had a bunch of issues with the wheel disconnection, so I'm going to suggest to Maxime, just go park it until like the last 5 minutes. Just let the wheel cool off and chill, make it think it's done for the night, and then come out and set that banger of a lap that we know you've got in you. His teammate serving a quali ban this week had a bunch of issues at the Miami Grand Prix during the sprint race. Had a broken wing, had a couple of bumps and grinds with a couple of people, and a couple of track limits violations that got ticketed, and so earned enough penalty points to go ahead and receive a quali ban. So Eric Carvalho will be starting from the back, assuming that nobody in P15 or lower gets a 5-place grid penalty.
Yeah, assuming the rest of the session is clean. I'm kind of looking for your Merc boys to kind of show up and show out. It's almost like we know they have the pace, Revis, but they have yet to put it all together in one race. Maybe we'll see it today. Yeah, Aaron's got a little bit of a recovery ahead of him, but we know we can do it.
It pulls over to let the Haas through of a non-Trivedi and a non-Trivedi. Beamer MG, who is just taken over as the team principal for Haas, returns the kindness by spinning in front of everyone and ruining his lap. So he'll be coming into the pits to cool off those tires. Currently sitting on a 1:19.9 and a non-Trivedi. I don't want to call you out here, son, but I said a 19.7. So gonna need to pick up the pace a whole bunch there. Jeffrey Lawler with an absolutely blistering 1:54.2. Just an absolute heater there from Dago.
Yeah, maybe he accidentally put the wet tires on. I don't know, not exactly competitive from Dago, but we'll see him up there soon enough. Right below him, actually, P15, Peter Giordano is yet to set a time. He's another one, Revis, that's got caught up in a lot of incidents early on. I think he's 3 for 3 so far. I'm really hoping he doesn't make it 4 for 4 and can show us a little bit of the pace that he actually does have here in Australia.
Good early lap there from Razor Sinus. It's a 1:17.8, right on board with Jordan Angus as he finishes up his lap here and into the pits, because that's how it usually goes. Cal Labib on an out lap. Let's see, Aaron Altmaier. No, Aaron's way back there. But Dago was, I think he invalidated, so he is charging up his battery right now. The only problem is he's got looks like he's got a Jack Pemberton and a Ferrari, potentially, of Peter Giordano behind him. But we'll check out what Dago can do here. We'll jump back on the into the Ferraris and see what Peter's got going on here. Oh, he's setting a pretty good time here. Probably going to be in the 1:18s for his first banker lap. He hasn't set a time yet. And that tricky exit right there. You got it. If you go in fourth gear, it's very easy to spin it. What can Peter Giordano do from P17? Sets it up. Oh, with a 17.7. I was absolutely wrong on the time. Absolute banger of a lap. A full 700ths clear of Luke Locklear. Great lap from Peter Giordano. Ian Krager, his teammate, has got some time to make up. 3/10 behind. Aaron Altmaier says, no, thank you. I'll go faster. 1/10 faster there in the Aston Martin is Aaron Altmaier. Graz with a great lap here early in quali.
Prior to Graz beating out Peter Giordano for provisional pole, I was saying, hey, that's how you can avoid the turn 1 carnage, is just be in the front. And he was set to do that. So really strong lap from Peter now. Revis, I got some info from the paddock here on the weather report. It's looking like full heavy rain the entire race.
Interesting.
So these are D1 guys, so I'd like to think they took a look at the weather report and maybe did some setup tweaks here before the race. But that is going to be a curveball. I don't know if we've seen a full wet race yet in Season 5 of ZRL.
No, I don't believe that. We've seen mixed conditions, which is always tricky for drivers. I know the Red Bull drivers in the race last night were running full wet setups, even though it was going to be mixed conditions, because they were expecting the rain to come earlier and heavier than it actually did. And so they ran wet to modified setups. We're riding on board with Big Mama Frank. He's currently sitting in P14, but just give that AlphaTauri a little bit of love here as that beautiful white machine comes around through Sector 2. He's going to run into some traffic here. Got to be careful. Got to pick things out properly. We did see in the D2 race last night a little bit of a Ferrari and Aston Martin entanglement that ended in some heated words. And then BuzzGod later in the session actually had a spider land on his face while he was racing.
A lot of antics in D3, apparently. We're watching BMF. Speaking of BMF, his teammate Razor and the other AlphaTauri has quietly put up a 1:17.8. He's currently sitting in P5.
A really good lap from Razor. Razor's good at the more technical circuits, and I feel like while this has more flow to it now, it's still a moderately technical circuit. It's not as tight as, say, like a Baku, a Monaco, a Hungary, but still, Razor thrives at the more technical, tight circuits.
Yeah.
And Joseph Herta, Big Mama Frank, does improve by 3/10 to stay in P14 currently, and invalidates for his trouble. He's going to pull off to get out of the way of the Haas 80. I'm sorry, that's actually Cal. Oh, that was a non-Trev 80. All right, we got the Merc of Maxime coming across the line now. And there it is. Maxime,
Wow.
nice lap, dude. 117.5. That's what we expected to see. When I
Very
picked
good.
these guys, this is the type of stuff that I expected to see from Maxime. Maxime does not have, he has new pedals, which makes a huge difference, but he's still rocking that wheel that might disconnect at any time. And so I could have made a ton of money just betting on what lap Maxime's wheel would disconnect, but what a lap. He connected everything there.
Yeah, that might be another instance where maybe he goes back in the garage and parks it if he doesn't want to set up another lap. A blistering 17.5. I don't know if we'll see low 17s here. You know what? This could be indicative of the guys going for a wet setup, right? If they've increased the downforce a little bit,
Sure.
slowing down a little bit on dry conditions, maybe that's why we're not seeing low 17s.
Duncan McCamick improves by almost 3/10, but still stays in the 18s. I know he was running easy 17s in Grand Prix mode earlier in the week, so I think you're right. I think they looked at that weather report and went, ah, snap. Well, I'm just going to have to be slow and quali. Jordan Angus still yet to set a lap, and I'm sorry, Eric Perez yet to set up, also serving a quality ban. Jordan Angus still in P16. That was not the alpha I was looking for. I was looking for Jack Pemberton as he crosses the line. 2/10 better, 4/10 better, and goes P10 for Jack Pemberton. Nice
go.
lap from the Canadian goaltender.
Great lap. That was a almost 5/10 improvement on his previous time. And could be that track evolution factor too. Not only did he hook up a good one, but we're coming towards the end of this session here. I think we're going to see the rest of the grid start to trickle out and set one final banger before it's race time.
Pelter had invalidated and then violated the pit entry, much like I did in the DX race, and lost his front wing. It's not going to cost him much anyway, but he needs to be in and out in about the next 2 minutes if he's going to try to set another lap. And here comes Duncan McCamick, should be going into the pits. Yes, he is. Big Mama Frank will be into the pits. No, that's Razor Senna staying out. We'll see if he can improve his time. Looks like he's doing pretty well here. Good exit there. Runs nice and wide. DRS flapping open almost immediately as he crossed the line. And when he crosses that line, it is a 117.4. Razor Senna puts it on provisional pole with 4 minutes to remaining here in quali.
What a lap. Talk about a guy who's good at technical tracks. You were bang on with that, Toto. 17.4 is blistering on a prospective wet setup. I'm on with Peter Giordano. He'll look to improve a little bit as P5, and he spins out. He spins out and breaks his wing on the final turn, and he'll have to scoot back and get into pit lane as quick as he can. I don't know if he'll have time to get back out.
That's it's going to be very, very close. Is this Thermo on a flyer right now, all by himself, no traffic? Did have to get around a Aston Martin there of Aaron Altmaier. Graz is on outlap, and nice and tight, nice and wide, but keeps it legit. Does Luke Locklear, our only Barbadian driver. He comes around and sneaks into the pitch. You son of a gun. That's the last time I show you. All right, here goes Graz. No traffic really to speak of in front. Maxime also a sector ahead. Both McLarens out together. So good teamwork there from the Macca. Is going to try to set up a tow here to try to drag one or the other. Let's actually see who's out front and who's going to be the one sacrificed. So Jason Pelter is behind. So Mike Rehill a little bit further back is going to try to drag Pelter around here. But Maxime is on his outlap with no worries, no stress, no pressure. He can take his time here and just prep those tires, drag the brakes if he wants to, get all the temp in there he needs. He's got 2.5 minutes to make it around. Only got to set one lap here and try to set a banger of a lap. Needs to improve by about a 10th to try to feel a little bit safe there in P1, but I don't even know if a full 10th is going to put him completely safe.
Yeah, we're going to see everybody going out for one final run on the most evolved track surface of the session, so he very well could think that a 10th might not be enough. Razor on provisional pole as Maxime is about to start his final lap of the session.
Second here. Over to that. Go. Helping people out because people are driving and they're pinging those people. So here we go. Maxime Beaulieu from Canada with the amazing disconnecting wheel. And I should have just watched anybody else because I definitely jinxed my own driver there.
Little broadcaster's curse comes to haunt us here. Let's hop in with the McLarens, Revis. I wonder how that tow is working out here.
Looks like the
They're
tow is
towing,
gone.
they're towing Gator, right?
Well, no, leaky valve is all the way down around turn 3 now, and Jason Pelter is well behind him. So they did not actually set up the tow. They just actually went out at the same time. So I believe that's going to put Mike Rehill, the leaky valve, as our next one to set a time. and he has got a Red Bull hot on his tail. Let's see who that is. That is going to be Hudson Poole receiving a tow as they cross the start-finish line. If he is good enough, I think without battery right now, he's running no ERS, so not in hot lap mode, so he's going to have a little bit of a gap there to Mike Rehill. So let's ride on board with the leaky valve and see what he can do as he finishes up here in Sector 2. Oh, it's an absolute traffic paradise ahead of him. There are 7 cars queued up to start a lap in front of him. Okay, we see one car pulled off to the side. Yellow flags, yellow markers everywhere. There's another car weaving and pegging. No, that's got to be an impediment. That is going to have to be a penalty right there. And that is going to be Jeffrey Lawler, and he is going to be called to the steward's room for that. For sure, Mike Rehill is going to be absolutely livid.
Just right on stream, man. That was terrible. He had 3/10 going into Sector 3, Revis. I mean, he was setting up a banger. That would have put 3/10 alone, would have put him at a 117.7 flat, almost good enough for P5 or P6.
Well, Jason Pelzer good enough for P8, improves just enough to move up from P11 into that top 10. Top 10 not as important now as it used to be, but still a good time from him. Aaron Altmaier makes it across the line just in time to start another lap, as does Maxime. So Maxime with one last chance to push. We're not going to watch it because I don't want to do that again. Jack Pemberton is up 2/10 on his time. His teammate Jordan Angus will cross the line first. Jordan in P16. Can he improve? No, he's slow there. His teammate Jack Pemberton goes from P11 up to P2. P2 for the Alfa Romeo of Jack Pemberton. Great lap there from the Canadian.
Love to see it. He's going to go out with a bang, Revis. Just you watch.
Anand Trivedi coming through for the final time, up slightly on his time, all the way down in P17. A lot of work to do if he's going to take that spot from Jordan Angus. I don't think it's going to happen here unless he gets a significantly great exit and is absolutely flying down here to the end. So what is it going to be? It's going to stay P17. There goes Peter Giordano up into P4. We missed it. Major Castleman. Maxime is around, so hooray. Peter Giordano to P6 to move down. Major Castleman in P2. Razor Senna in P3. So a really great end to qualifying here. Let's check who is left out on Jason Pelzer is done. Aaron Altmaier, I believe, has invalidated. So that's going to be it for him. Maxime is done. Had a spin there. That's going to be it for qualifying, folks. Nobody left that can set a valid time. So it is going to be Jeffrey Lawler, Dago on pole, and he's going to have to do a lot of work here because post-race penalties are probably inevitable for what appeared on our screens to be a potential blocking violation. And the leaky valve, of course, all the way down in P14. Mike Rehill not going to be happy about that. So on the front row is an AlphaTauri of Razor Senna. Major Castleman, the Alpine, showing up and showing out. Duncan McCamick and Hudson Poole, P6, P15. But they do know the rain is coming. So they were running race-heavy setups. Major Castleman in P3. Jack Pemberton, P4. Great showing for the Alfa Romeo. Maxime in P5. His best start of the season. Hudson Poole in P6. Peter Giordano. Aaron Altmaier in P8. Luke Locklear, Thermo, our Barbadian driver, in P9. Cal Labib in P10 with a real good chance for a three-peat this weekend. The D3 Red Bull driver driving for his third team of the weekend and looking to make big things happen. Ian Krieger in the Ferrari in 11. Jason Pelzer, Barney Giltmere, Mike Rehill, Duncan McCamick, Joseph Herta, Big Mama Frank, Jengus, the Sleek Warlock, Anand Trivedi, the new Haas team president and team principal, Eric Perez and Eric Carvalho start on the back row, both serving quali bands. So it is time to go racing. Now that this crazy quali has happened, it is time for a crazy wet race. And any surprises there for you, Buffalo?
Yeah, I think there were a lot. We saw a lot of jumbling up. I think this is a great qualifying position for Major Castleman. I don't remember seeing him as high as P3. Jack Pemberton, meanwhile, I don't remember seeing him anywhere near Pure 4, save for maybe in the middle of the race in Bahrain. Another surprise, too, Thermo down in P9. I was saying a little bit earlier how the Alpines are usually clumped together up in the front. Disappointing quality performance for Luke Locklear. He'll look to improve his situation in the race.
All right, folks, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. A lot of views so far. Really happy to see so many people popping in and out of the stream. Do us a favor. Go ahead and like and subscribe while you're here. You don't have to keep it liked. You can unlike it later, but like it for right now. Subscribe. Let us know in the chat who you think's going to win. Who is the rain god of Division 1? Right now, Dago is on top and has the advantage. Rain is the great equalizer, but now these drivers have to decide, is it interweather? Is it full wet weather? Looks like it's going to be heavy rain throughout, so who's going to gamble and who knows best? about how to react to this weather. We'll find out in just a minute. Go grab yourself something cool to drink, grab you some tater chips, and we will be right back for Division 1 in the wet at Albert Park here in Zoom Racing League 1. All right, folks, so a little bit of change in what we normally do. We're not going to show you the formation lap because we're doing the broadcast version of the formation lap. And so it changes things up a little bit. We found there's some issues with tires and with desync that we caused with the regular formation lap. So cars have already gone around. Drivers just kind of have to sit there and watch the cars go. But now they are on the grid and they are ready to go. We were expecting heavy rain. Right now, the forecast showing light rain for the session, but it will be raining for the entire session. And it's going to be a quick one here as the lights start to come on. The lights start to go out. And we are going to be underway here in Australia. Pretty decent start from everybody into the top 5. Let's drop further back in the order, see if anybody's having issues. Aaron Altmaier with a good start. A couple of people moving down. And there goes Thermo. He's always got a great start for us. And a little bump and bang, a little bit of ride. But that was a great dive right up through the middle. He just absolutely split the C. And there's Joseph Hervit. Big Mama Frank is out. Is this going to be an early safety car here on lap 1 right now? No, it is no safety car. His car is not moving, so he is out of the session. Everybody, it's good. Looks like it's going to be a virtual safety car. Everybody going very slowly right now. So right now, let's run down our orders. Jeffrey Lawler from Major Castleman. Maxime moves up 2 spots into P3. And Jack Pemberton, Hudson Pool, Razor Senna. Razor drops all the way down to P6. Let me flow through this. Everybody's on the enters right now. So 4 spots lost for Razor Senna, 2 for Luke Locklear, 5 for Peter Giordano, 1 for Barney, 3 spots lost for Duncan McCamick, all the way down to P18, and all of his spots lost for Joseph Herta. Big Mama Frank, and unfortunately we didn't see what happened there, but you know he's got to be real upset right now. And this virtual safety car lasting a little longer than I thought it was going to be, so we're basically getting a formation lap here on lap 1 as Cal Labib spins. Let's see what happened to him. Is he sideways or just losing spots? And he is missing the left end plate. No, he's got everything's in. Oh, I don't know what happened here, so we'll consider this something of a restart as they come around through the penultimate turn. And not a huge amount of chaos, Buffalo, but if you're Big Mama Frank, that's a lot of time you spend, and it's just gone on lap 1.
Yeah, it's really tough to go out on lap 1. You spend the entire week practicing, get set up all tweaked, pumped for a wet race on a tricky track, and just a tough start for him, and he finds himself DNF. But a lot of big movers here early. Jack had a really nice start, being able to keep up with the top 4. Hudson had a really good one as well. Razor was a little rough. As we're going green, and I'm on with Dago, and it looks like he almost already has a second gap on Major Castleman.
Yep, already more than a second, and then a second and a half back to Maxime. Jack Pemberton going to be in that DRS range, but no DRS in the wet conditions. So that'll be the clue for a lot of these drivers as we see an Alfa Romeo run wide there if Jack Pemberton loses out the spot to Hudson Pool. Also saw a yellow flag temporarily. That may have been for Jack running wide, but so far so bad if you're Joseph Herta and if you're Non Trevedi, who is currently in the pits, getting a wing change, and I assume going onto a fresh set of intermediate tires. No penalties thus far in the race, but after the race, maybe another story.
Yeah, as I say, it doesn't look like Peter has escaped the early carnage. He finds himself down 4 spots again, so another rough start where he fails to kind of gain any positions and set himself up nicely. He's currently P11. A lot of race to go, but I know he's always looking out for at least one clean race this year.
Couple of position changes there. Razor Senna going around the outside on Aaron Altmaier there in the in turn 14. In turn 15, they're still side by side. Let's go to the broadcast cam and look at that gaggle of cars. Got 4 cars coming through the turn together. Nice, clean side-by-side action. But, folks, this is not done. We saw some jockeying for position there with Ian Kreger, Luke Locklear, and Peter Giordano as Mike Rehill, the leaky valve, loses out to Cal Labib. Mike Rehill losing a couple spots there. I wonder what happened if he just went a little bit wide. Duncan McCamick looking to pounce as well as they're side-by-side here down the main straight. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? Mike Rehill not backing out, not going to give any extra room he doesn't have to. And Eric Carvalho quietly up 5 spots from all the way at the back of the grid into P15. Duncan McCamick does take that spot from Mike Rehill for 17.
Ian and Thermo are trading paint here towards the end of Sector 1. They go into turn 4 and 5. A little bit of contact, a little bit of wheel banging. Thermo will maintain P9, but a lot of fight going on as they're jockeying for P9. Gator and Razor are up ahead, fighting for P7 and P8 respectively. A lot of action going on in the front midfield.
Lots of good, respectful driver. Hudson Pool and Maxime were side by side there for a moment. Hudson Pool already up into P3, started back, I believe, all the way down in P6. So really interesting to see these positions swapping back and forth. We asked you guys in the chat who is going to be this weekend's rain god. going to be Jeffrey Lawler. It's going to be Major Castleman, Hudson Poole, possibly Ian Krieger, who just switched spots. And here goes Jason Pelter around the outside of Razor Senna. Takes the spot from him. Amazing move there. Not a spot where you expect the overtake, but I assume he was dumping a bunch of battery to do so. And yeah, he's fully 10% less ERS right now than Razor Senna as he takes that spot at the end of Sector 2.
Yeah, it just looked like he was a lot more confident in that long chicane at the end of Sector 2 and was able to carry so much more speed into that turn as Sector 3 starts. And I mean, he made that pass on pure pace, pure speed.
Well, Razor Senna may have not gotten the message because there goes Thermo, Luke Locklear around, and then here comes Peter Giordano and possibly Ian Krieger going to try to take those spots. So dropping down the order right now is Razor Senna, and I wonder if maybe he is running too much of a dry setup and he's left himself at a disadvantage because he has less downforce, less grip, and less availability to defend those positions. Losing out on the straights, though, it seems like, not necessarily in the corners. So interesting balance of how you handle the setups here.
Jordan Angus currently up in P13. He's actually up 4 spots from his starting position. He's kind of flown under the radar this season. Hasn't really shaken up kind of the upper midfield part of the pack. But currently in P13, maybe he can make something happen in the rain. He's trying to keep pace with Barney, Ian, and Razor as he hopes to maybe make a move later on.
Well, somebody not making moves right now is Razor Senna as he loses another spot to another Ferrari. So getting absolutely demolished by the Italian machines right now is the Brazilian driver in the Austrian machinery. So Razor Senna continues to drop down the order. He's going to be under attack now from Barney Goatmere in the Williams. The bad boy team of ZRL headed by Garrett Elder. Barney Goatmere, known for his somewhat aggressive style. He does drive on a controller versus most of these drivers who are on a wheel. But Barney sometimes can't take as tight a line on some of these tracks as everyone else does, but he's really good in the really technical tracks like Baku and Monaco.
Which is interesting, right? Because those are usually the harder ones on controller, although Baku is notoriously controller friendly. But Monaco especially, I mean, there's a point in time where you couldn't actually make the hairpin clean just the way the controller support was for, I think it was F1 2019.
A little bit of a bobble there from Razor Senna. A lot of battery dumping right here. These guys, the good thing about the wet is you're going to have a longer braking zones. You're going to have a lot more time to recharge that DRS or the ERS, because with no DRS, you're going to be reliant heavily on your battery. Sticking with Maxime, just kind of running a nice solo race there in P4. Jack Pemberton 3 seconds behind, under pressure from Aaron Altmaier and then Jason Pelter, the Gator. But they are lining up, trying to get a look here. So it's Alfa Romeo. We got a spinner. Razor Senna moving down the order in a hurry. What a disaster.
He's out.
And he is retired from the session. So that is both AlphaTauris out. So if you are Fitz Toast, a.k.a. Fitz. Oh, and then we got a spinner around of Eric Perez, it looks like. Eric Perez, is he also going to be out of the session? No, but he is missing a front wing. I wonder how much that had to do with Razor Senna. We had a similar issue, I believe, in D2 last night. It was a D3. Stars FPS comes around that very same corner and finds a car parked there that is not ghosted but is DNF'd, has to take avoiding action, and ends up putting it into the wall himself. So Eric Perez served a quali ban all the way down in P19, sitting currently in P17 with no wing and well off the pace, and that is a full safety car.
Wow, they're kind of a late call for the safety car, huh?
Oh, correction from Stars.
Was going to happen there.
Stars FPS. It was Dan in the Alpine, not Stars FPS. Stars FPS wants us to be sure that we know he finished P4. Well done by you, sir. All right, so that's 2 AlphaTauris out. So half of the Honda power is out, unless we're counting these weird fake alliances we made. Then we have technically a Honda with a Mercedes engine in the Aston Martin Green Bull of Jeffrey Lawler. So it's Jeffrey Lawler from Major Castleman. Actually, let's look at the positions gained and lost here. Jeffrey Lawler started on pole, kept it there. Major Castleman was P3, moved up 1. Hudson Poole up 3.3 spots. Maxime from 5 up 1, traded spots with Jack Pemberton. Aaron Altmaier up 2. Jason Pelter up 5. Luke Locklear up 1. 2 spots lost for Peter Giordano, but he's been on a bit of a tear here. Ian Krieger's lost 4 spots all the way down to P15. He was running up there with Peter. We missed what happened there, but a lot of spots lost for Ian Krieger.
He pit. So we had 3 guys come into pit, Revis.
Okay,
so Ian, Duncan, and Eric Perez, I believe, came in for fresh enters. Presumably, they'll try to make it to the end of the race. So, big undercut there. Tire strategy is always a little wonky in the wet, right? So, they'll do a move there to try to gain some positions, and then, hope that it's harder to overtake later in the session.
Well, there's not a lot of things in the middle of a race that can make my heart happy, but big shout out to my boy PBJ, Chris Hannigan, watching, and he sent me a message and said, we sound great. And for a guy that is such a natural and such a has such presence on the mic, that's a huge compliment. And so PBJ, thank you very much for that message. It's very encouraging, brother.
PBJ's, you're a real legend.
All right, so right now, clicking over to the chat while we're on this formation lap, not a lot of excitement there. Zoom Racing League poll: who will be the rain god this weekend? 38% of the votes for Jeffrey Lawler, 25% for Mr. Hudson Poole. Major Castleman tied with Jeffrey Lawler currently, and no one voting for Ian. We're going to end that poll right now. Screenshot it and send it to Ian, and send that and see if that'll be a little bit of a motivation.
They might get upset.
He might, and an angry Ian Krieger is usually younger guys have more trouble controlling their emotions, right? They get a little bit mad, they get a little frustrated, and they make these huge mistakes. I think Ian, when he gets mad, actually drives better. He drives faster, not necessarily cleaner, but he's faster.
Yeah, I remember last season when we were practicing, and there were some people that may have switched teams kind of around, and he practiced hard with a lot of those guys, and I could tell whenever there was a bit of frustration, he kind of kicks it into a different gear. So I totally agree with you. I think there are some guys that go the other way, but Ian driving angry is Ian driving quick.
But then we should have the safety car in this lap, as most of the grid has caught up, including Eric Perez. So he's really no worse for the wear at the end of the day. He had made up. Oh, thermo is disconnected. Eric Perez in P18 started P19, so he still made up a spot. But even with that wing change, because it was under a safety car, or just at the safety car, really not too terribly worse for the wear, and he's going to have slightly better tires. Now, can this set of inners that these guys have changed onto make it a full 22 laps? I think that's going to be a big ask, just depending on how well your setup handles them and how much temperature you do or don't keep in, and how much you can seek out those little puddles to cool them off.
Dago slowing up the field here. Major Castleman behind him. Hudson Poole in P3 with Maxime in P4, followed by Jack. And they are really slow, trying to keep as much heat of those tires, swinging right, left, as Dago tries to maybe a little bit of gamesmanship here on the restart.
Very smart. Make him guess. Keep him guessing. I mean, he can absolutely wait until that final turn and just keep backing him up. And drivers will start to get impatient. And occasionally you'll see guys get a penalty here because they're thinking it's going to be go time now. And it's not go time yet, and you want to get going, and you ended up clocking somebody in the rear, a little front nose to rear diffuser, and Dago's going to go ahead and go now, or is he? He's got to be careful here if he's going to play any kind of cat and mouse, and doesn't want to get himself in any more trouble. He's not going yet. Looks like he's waiting, and now he's got to be off and away, and safety car came back out momentarily, and it's showing on the mini map, and we're showing full course yellow now, and there we go, and it's green light, and we are away. And it's almost 7/10 lead already for for Jeffrey Lawler over Major Castleman. Hudson Poole staying close. Maxime almost a second behind already, but trying to nurse that Mercedes around. He's going to have Jack Pemberton and Aaron Altmaier hot on his tail. Actually, Aaron Altmaier, wow. How about I say Graz instead? Falling slightly back. Jordan Angus losing the spot out to Cal Labib. So Cal already up into P10. And actually, they're still fighting back there. And Cal runs wide. Fighting. Jordan Angus to the better.
Yeah, Cal went red wide there. Really tricky. Their tires are going to be a little bit colder here as Eric gets the first track penalty of the session. He'll get 3 seconds. I wonder where that was, right? Because we know that turn 4 can be notorious for over-warning people and kind of assigning penalties a little bit early in the game. So maybe he protests that. I don't know.
Whoa,
Leaky Val may have had an incident.
Lost the spot and got a little bit of a rub, it looked like, possibly from Ian Krieger maybe. Don't know exactly what happened there, but they were definitely side by side, and then Leaky Valve was rubbing the wall. Eric Perez up a spot on Duncan McCamick, and of course takes the spot from Leaky Valve. So Eric Perez on the fresh inners with a fresh wing, just off and flying right now, and looking to make up big points there in that Williams machine.
2 Alfa Romeos currently in the top 10. You'll love to see it. Jack Pemberton making P5 stick so far. He's still just within a second of the Mercedes of Maxime in P4. And he's currently holding off Graz barely by about 4/10.
PBJ asking in the chat, does this game have a dry line evolution? I have only done part of one race here, and as far as I can tell, not really. there is a dry-ish line, but as far as like an actual, you can definitely tell where it's dry and where it's wet. I don't think that's the case, Buffalo. What's your experience been?
Yeah, I don't know if I've noticed much of a difference as well. Now, am I the best weather driver? Absolutely not. But I'd be curious to see if we can do any notice. I've been on with Jack, and I've seen him go deep now into 2 corners in a row. So it's definitely slick. So if there is dry line evolution, it hasn't started yet.
It's not much. Looks like Luke Locklear Thermo is back in the session now. I noticed he popped back up on my Steam list. I've started keeping that up so I can keep track of who comes and goes and when they get back online. We've had some people disconnect and just not make it back, and we got to track that for points, because if you disconnect and you beat 10 guys, well, you got to lose 10 spots there because they stayed in and actually raced, and doesn't matter how fast your AI is, it doesn't count.
That gap now between P5 and P6, Jack and Graz, is now almost up to a full second. So Jack is showing some early pace in the rain. Already a second 2 between Dago and Hudson Pool. I think we're going to start to see the field spread out maybe a little bit in the next few laps.
Yeah, so PBJ expanding on his original questions, you can kind of see one as far as the dry line. You can see where the cars are driving. You can see the difference in color on the track, but as far as the physics of it, yeah, I think the answer there is not really. It's not like some other sims. Of course, you know, F1 has never been known for being the greatest at their physics modeling. You know, people like Bronson Stafford, who has driven probably everything that's ever existed in a sim, because these cars are just terribly understeery to him versus, you know, how pointy you would think, you know, the top tier of racing machinery should be. And so yeah, physics has never been the peak attraction of this game. It's more of getting to fantasize about driving these cars that we get to see our heroes drive, and the in the league aspect, people love to race. That's why we have so many people here in Zoom Racing League. And if you'd like to join us, the Discord link is there in the bottom. Even if you're not interested in racing, you can still join. We have 5 divisions currently. We have 6 technically if you want to count Division E. We have an esports rules division that doesn't really count for anything other than pride. We have a Division 4 on Friday nights, Division X on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Division 2 and 3 get things really ramped up and heated up for the weekend. And here we are every Sunday night for Division 1 here in Zoom Racing League. And folks, we'd love to have you, so click that Discord link, join us, and come say hello. Even if you don't want to race, we'd love to have you in.
Because Hudson has been really closing that gap to Dago. One time I looked at it, it was 1.2 seconds. Now, about 4.5 tenths. As he comes into the tail end of lap 10, he's going to start putting a lot of pressure on Jeffrey Lawler here, and I think we may see a move being made in the next lap or so.
Well, jumped back for just a moment there. Jason Pelter was about to chomp on Aaron Altmaier. They were side by side there through turn 12 now. A little bit confusing there. So Jason Pelter doing a great job here in the rain, hanging tough with Graz. A little bit of movement there in the back. Ferrari on Ferrari violence potentially with the Haas of Cal Labib, Jordan Angus, and Peter Giordano. So even though Haas has kind of gone independent for this season, they're still a Ferrari power at the end of the day, and they try to work together as much as they can. As Duncan McCammett moves up to P16, takes the spot from a non-Trev 80.
I can tell from experience that there is no communication going between the Ferrari, Alpha, McLaren, and the Haas team. So no sort of strategy going really between P10, P11. And I think that Gator and Graz fighting was really helping Jack kind of build that gap to Aaron Altmaier in P6. That's now up to about 1.8 seconds. So it's almost like, of course, obviously in the wet, the more you fight, you just lose a lot more time than you do in the dry.
All right, speaking of gaining and losing time, Ian Krager has been sucked up pretty hard to the back here of Eric Carvalho. Eric started in P20, and so Rhapsody all the way up. And here comes Ian. Can he get a run here on the Mercedes? Moves to the inside line. You can go side by side here, but it is dangerous, especially in the wet. Decides to think better of it. You know, the better part of Valor there. Decides to back out and continue this fight for another 18 laps as they cross the line this time around. Almost loses it on the exit here, but look at this train of cars. This is incredible to see. This is what we've always wanted here in Zoom Racing League. We want tight, close battling. We want guys that are rubbing side by side, pushing each other, making each other better, making each other sweat, making each other work for it. And here we go, a really long, nice train. And Hudson Pool goes into the lead of the race, and we miss it as I'm sitting here bragging on a Ferrari. Hudson Pool takes the move down the inside into turn 2 and turn 3 on Jeffrey Lawler. So for those of you that voted earlier, it was a 38% for Jeffrey Lawler, 38% of your Major Castleman, only 25% voted for Hudson Pool. And currently our reigning raid god looks like it's going to be the Hudson Hornet in Red Bull, currently sitting in P1 in the standings, in the championship, in the race. and for some of you out there, in your heart.
Yeah, a couple laps ago, that gap was closing really quickly, and I had a feeling that a move was going to be made pretty soon. We'll see if he can start to gap up on Dago and the field here, as we've seen him done so many times. But a lot of other mini trains too. Aaron's leading a train in P6 to all the way through to Cal in P10 before about a 2-second gap to Jordan Angus. So Cal had just made that move for P10 Rebus, and now he's already opened up a 2-second gap with Jordan.
Nice move there. Another nice move. Aaron Krieger, we were wasting our time watching him, and Hudson took the lead. We wasted our time watching Dago and Hudson Poole, and Ian got the move done. So the guy that got 0 votes for Your Rain God moving up through the field after that early stop. One of the only drivers to stop so far. Looks like Ian Krieger, Eric Perez, Duncan McCamick, and Antrevedi only wants to stop so far. Gets the spot from Eric Carvalho, and now he's going to go to hunt down the sleek warlock, Jordan Angus.
Yeah, it looks like Ian's the only one who's really been able to make kind of the new tires make a difference. We see Duncan still down there in P16. It doesn't look like the new inters have made that much of a difference. Eric Perez, though, baby, he's up in P14 after starting from near the back of the grid. So a little bit of recovery so far, and we'll see how many more positions he can gain.
So Jack doing a good job still of maintaining a near enough gap to Maxime that if Maxime picks up a penalty, Jack will inherit that position. But he's also increased his gap to Aaron Altmaier. Now, Aaron having to do a little bit more defending in the Aston Martin. So Jack Pemberton able to just kind of run some free laps here. Turn the laps, keep it clean, keep working the way you need to work. And so the question here I have is, technically, by regulation, these drivers do not have to stop because it is wet conditions or a change of tire compound. Is it possible, do you think, to run the entire race on one set of inners, or would that be an absolute disaster? As it looks like Barney Goatmere and Anand Trivedi maybe have a bit of a moment. No front wing there for the Barney Goatmere in the Williams, and it is going to be a full safety car, although nobody DNF'd. The leaders are coming around right now. Who's going to dive in? It's not going to be Hudson. Jeffrey Lawler, Dago going to do the early undercut here. Major Castleman follows him in. It looks like to me, Maxime, what's he going to do? He's going to stay out. Jack Pemberton in, Aaron Altmaier in, Jason Pelter in, Luke Locklear in, Peter Giordano out, Cal Labib in, Jordan, Ian Krieger's going to stay out. Jengis is in. Eric Carvalho stays out to try to gain a little bit of track position. Eric Perez has already stopped, so he's going to stay out as long as he can. Mike Rehal, the leaky valve, is in. Duncan McCamick out. Anand Trivedi in. And Barney Goatmere, of course, no front wing, is going to have to come in. So that is a big deal there. We normally run on reduced safety car, and in several of our races, we saw no safety cars. So I don't know if maybe it's a rain physics things, because as far as I know, we didn't change any of our settings for the lobby. But now we got drivers coming in to change a wing. No one DNF'd, but we have our second safety car of the night, Drink.
Yeah, interesting tour event. Dago looks to be in a nice position here, right? That difference in tire degradation is significant, 13 laps to 0. So, although it's possible to go all in one go, I think Hudson will surely lose some pace to Dago, as will Maxime in the later parts of the race, should they decide to stick it out the entire time.
Yep, there's no way that I'm going to take the gamble if I'm one of these guys who's trying to win this race and stay out again. You've got to make a call here at some point, because I think the way these guys are racing and the speed at which these drivers move, you can't try to go to the end on these tires, because you're taking too big of a gamble that you're going to be that next one that's going to be P18 and grayed out versus being on for a potential podium.
Yeah, and they can't do it now. They'll just lose too much track position if they go now. So they either have to cross their fingers and hope for another safety car at 5 laps, or just do a standard pit stop, and they'll lose. I mean, that's like a 10-second difference, right? That Dago will have now gained by pitting under the SC.
And so if we just go by guys that have and have not pit, right now it would be Jeffrey Lawler from Major Castleman, from Ian Krieger, who has quietly crept up into P6 and only has 9 laps on those enters because he did stop already. P4 potentially going to Eric Perez, who started in P19 and has already had an early pit stop and a wing change in the Williams, and Duncan McCamick, who has already stopped in P9 currently. So your top 5 could be those guys that have already stopped, and then Hudson Poole, Maxime, Peter Giordano, Eric Carvalho potentially playing a dangerous game here with big points on the line.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the gap is going to look like between like Eric Perez and Duncan McCamick, and then the Jack Pembertons and Aaron Altmaiers, right? Because that's an 8-lap difference in tire life coming off the restart. And like, is it if it's not significant now, will it be significant towards the end of the race? Or are Eric, Duncan, and Jack and Aaron essentially on the same strat now? You know what I mean? I guess what I'm getting at, Revis, is does 8 laps of tire wear on inters make a difference?
And I have no data to back that up one way or another. We got a lot of folks in the chat. If you have experience on the inners, let me know. Will they last more than 15 laps? Is 20 laps too much? Can they go the distance of the race? I don't know a lot about this new tire model. And if we've got some experts in the chat, I'd love to hear about it. Nathan Doan asking in the chat, show the tires, please. There you go, Nathan. We just talked about it in addition to showing it. And it's going to be safety car in this lap. So this time around, it's Hudson Poole leading the pack and not Jeffrey Lawler. Jeffrey Lawler has 2 cars in front of him to contend with. And we'll see what they do here to back the pack up. Is Jeffrey Lawler going to have a little bit of more traction because there's going to be no wear on those tires?
I would think so. Yeah, I'm riding on board with him and seeing if, I don't know, maybe we'll get some more gamesmanship from Hudson, right? I mean, Dago had a little bit of an uneventful start as he got through the last corner. We'll see how Dago fares during Hudson's restart.
All right, so here we go. It is a Red Bull from Mercedes, from Aston Martin, from Ferrari, from Alpine, and another Ferrari. So we got 5 different manufacturers in the top 5. This is the kind of stuff we love to see. Maxime doing a little weaving there on the straight, not ideal, and Jeffrey Lawler does appear to have the traction, and here he goes down the inside. Maxime decides to back out because he does not want to lose a front wing here early on in this race as we are just past the halfway point. So it is Hudson Poole already building almost a 1-second gap. Peter Giordano looking to pounce on Maxime Boulou back in the Ferrari in P5. Nobody losing out any spots yet. We do have some close racing going on. Look at Duncan McCamick all over the back of Eric Perez. Takes a look down the inside. Eric has to run a little bit wide, so now we are side by side through this tricky right-hander that leads down the straight, and Duncan has to run a little bit wide and loses a spot in the offing. So there's Jack Pemberton up into P9 ahead of Duncan McCamick. Now these two have had bad blood in the past, so Duncan and Jack need to keep it calm here, because we know the two of them have had a number of on-track tangles and never come out for the better, either one of them. As we're going to go side by side down the back straight, here comes the Haas of Cal Labib, sucked up to the back of his team boss, Duncan McCamick. Everybody comes out pretty clean, but we still got some side-by-side action in the back. It looks like Luke Locklear alongside Aaron Altmaier. There's Jason Pelter in the back. Good racing here from these guys.
Aaron Altmaier has lost a ton of ground. He finds himself down in P13, whereas the guy right in front of him, Jack Hurley, in P9. Jack really just kind of a bystander during that Duncan and Cal mishap. So if there's any, or sorry, not Cal, that was Eric Perez. So you're talking about bad blood. If there's any bad blood that's going on, it's probably between Duncan and Eric, as Duncan may feel like he was pushed a little bit off by the Williams.
A side-by-side action here from Jason Pelter and Aaron Altmaier. Graz and Gator going at it side by side. The G-men, what are they going to be able to do? They're going to keep it clean. A little bit of a lost time there from Gator, and here comes Beamer NG and Anand Trivedi able to capitalize on that little bit of a mistake, that little bit of a back out there from the McLaren driver. McLaren currently sitting P14 and P17, underperforming the expectations of their team boss, Mr. Zach Brown, a.k.a. Adam Klein, a.k.a. Clickbait, a.k.a. Moneybags. Got to be a little bit disappointed, but still, you've got a guy like Gator on your squad, anything can happen.
Hey, while we were going through the Rolodex of Adam Klein's aliases here, Ian Krieger starting to put some pressure on Major Castleman, and when you know it, both Ferraris now sit in P4 and P6 respectively, so they've had a nice turn of events. You know, Peter Giordano, of course, hasn't pit yet. He's on 16-lap-old inters, but, you know, their race certainly looks a lot better now than it did 10 laps ago.
Absolutely, and this is typically the point in the race where one of them has something that is unexpected and potentially ends in heartache. They get out, they get that bad start, then they charge, and something silly happens. So is it a turn of fortune now for the young pair of Ferraris? It is Boat Boy and Cape Cod, and can they hold on? Peter Giordano, your two-time Division I champion, the young Italian-American driver who aspires to be an F1 aerodynamicist, and is already making plans to do big things in the future in real-life racing. Like I said, Italian-American, loves Ferrari, absolutely his favorite team. Also the team principal for Ferrari, and making good moves right now up to P4.
Gugu's now. We hope he doesn't take a page out of Mattia Bonotto's book for strategy, and maybe he's got a shot here towards the end of this race.
All right, 12 laps to go. A little bit of a mixed bag of who's doing what here. Let's look at the positions gained and lost again. Hudson Pool up 5 spots. We're a little bit worried about the Red Bulls in qualifying, but they are running a full wet setup, as is evidenced by their moves up the field. 5 spots also for Duncan McCamick. Eric Perez and Eric Carvalho, both of them sat out qualifying with qualifying bans. They served that without complaint, without exception, and look at them go, up 13 and 11 spots respectively.
Really nice. I'm trying to watch the Delta here to see if there's a real difference between tire life, and it's not super evident right now. Especially, I'm kind of expecting Major Castleman to maybe start to close the gap a little bit more to Peter Giordano, right? I mean, that's a 13-lap difference.
there
And
it
there's
is.
another incident.
Another safety car, drink. Cal Labib hits the wall, loses his front wing. And so if this keeps up, folks, and you're doing the safety car drink game, you're going to be wasted by the time this thing is over. So here we go. Does Maxime come in? No, stays out yet again. So he believes those tires can go all the way to the end, or there's going to be a lot more safety cars. Is anybody coming in? So far, no. All the way down to Cal Labib, who's going to have to come in. I mean, he's fast enough that I think he could probably make some laps around here with a decent pace with no front wing, but you got to have it on there because otherwise it's just going to be insult added to injury.
Yeah, so if I'm looking at Hudson and Maxime and Peter right now. The 17, if they didn't pit now under the safety car, which you'd think on paper would be perfect timing, they're not going to pit.
Unless, and we don't have any way to look at this because unfortunately we don't have our telemetry tool. We don't have TAS this time around. Oh, there's a nice timing glitch. Cal Labib into P1 while in the pits and Miles behind the field. So thanks, Codemasters. You're doing great. We don't have our telemetry tool that we normally use called TAS. And that gives us a lot of good information, especially as broadcasters, particularly about the weather conditions. And so maybe possible that Red Bull and Mercedes know something we don't. It could be the Ferrari also has that same information that the track is about to dry up sometime in the next 10 to 15 minutes. It's a gamble. It's a huge gamble if you think that's going to be the case. But if that is the gamble you take, you have put yourself in a great position in P1, P3, P4, P6, P7, P8, P10.
And it's proven difficult to overtake so far here in the rain, right? So track position, it seems like they're really valuing above all else here. Tire life for sure. It looks like we're going to have to go around one more time. We'll have about 9 laps of racing remaining. And yeah, we'll see if the weather changes a bit.
All right, the views keep piling up, folks. Thank you so much for all of you that have tuned in and stuck around. Appreciate you being here, spending time with us here on a Sunday night. You could have been anywhere in the world, as Jay-Z said, but you chose to be right here with us, and we surely do appreciate that. We would ask one thing of you: give us a like, give us a little thumbs up, go ahead and subscribe. Join the Discord. Link is in the description, and let us know in the chat what you think. What do you think about the racing here in Zoom Racing League? Is it everything you expected? Is it everything you wanted? And is there something more we can do to add to the experience? I can send Buffalo to your house and he can give you a foot massage. We can send the winner to your house to sign your hat. I don't know what else we could do to try to make things good for you, the viewers here in Zoom Racing League, but we will spare no expense making those things happen if that's what you need. And that's a lie, folks. None of that's going to happen.
I don't know, man. I mean, what are they into? Give me a call. I'm available.
Yep, and there we go, PBJ with the reminder. One more lap under safety car. If PBJ was here, he would tell you, hurry, folks, run to the kitchen. Grab yourself something cool to drink and some tater chips. And let's settle in for the end of the action here as we are 2/3 of the way through this race and hoping to have a spicy finish, but not so spicy that it ends up with another safety car. Safety car in this lap. So 3 so far. I've finished 2 of my drinks. Gotta start working on this 3rd one. I got 4 here, Buffalo Trace, and I really hope we don't get that deep into the safety car. So right now, it's Hudson Pool from Jeffrey Lawler, Maxime Boulou. I'm not gonna say anything. Great job so far. Peter Giordano, Major Castleman, Ian Krager, Eric Carvalho, Eric Perez, Jack Pemberton in P9, and Duncan McCamick into P10. We said goodbye early on to Joseph Herta on lap 1. Razor Senna, we said goodbye to, I believe, on about lap 10. So no AlphaTauris here to finish out the race. Hudson Poole is going to lead them back to green one more time. Get your predictions in the chat right now. Is it going to be Red Bull? Is it going to be Aston Martin? Can the Mercedes outperform expectations up to this point? The Ferrari boys looking good, but the Alpines are not done. We got a Williams in the top 10, folks. Garrett Elder has got to be super happy.
Yeah, Eric Perez has had a hell of a recovery race. Here we go on the restart. On with Dago. Hudson's got a nice gap already. 0.6 between him and Dago, and a whole second between him and Maxine. So they've pulled away pretty well. We'll see if Dago can start to close that gap with the 13-lap fresher tires as Duncan gets a 3-second penalty for track limits. We haven't seen much of those, Revis. There's only 2 drivers with penalties.
A couple of spots made up already for Cal Labib, who was at the back of the field, all the way down in P18, made up 3 spots, overtook Mike Rehill, Barney Goatmere, Jordan Angus. We got Jack Pemberton around, losing spots. No, he's back going. I'm sorry, he was not around, but he did lose out spots there.
Around. He was bumped off a little bit in turn 4 by Duncan, and that was close. Now, just hard racing there, so I don't think anything malicious was intent, but that was so dangerous for that to happen because we know that the track limits there are kind of bugged, right? That easily could have been a double or a triple warning for Jack, but he loses out 2 positions, and he looks like he was in a position to maybe pick up some ground on Eric. But as there's more fighting, as we see an incident ahead of him, Duncan and Thermo in. Thermo into the gravel. Looks like he did hit the wall. He probably has something broken.
Oh, no. And he hits onto the exit. He hits Duncan McCammon, spun around, and that is a front wing gone. That is a damaged Alpine, and that has got to be damaged feelings and a lot of anger and frustration for our Barbadian driver, Luke Locklear. Thermo had a great start, and here he is all the way down into P18. Going to have to pit an extra time. Dirty, messy tires right now, and an absolute disaster as the Alpine and Red Bull come together as the 2 teams are fighting for the lead in the championship. Only 16 points separating them, and those points right now are crucial.
That was a big yikes, Revis. I was on with Jack, watching him kind of recover, try to get back to the pack, and I saw that unfold. It was super hard wheel banging between Duncan and Thermo. I don't know who hit who, but Thermo hit the wall, caused the damage, and then got Duncan on re-entry. So, carnage here.
It looks like it's going to be tickets galore for the stewards. Probably both drivers ticketing one another because that was not, I wouldn't call that a great rejoin. Looked a little bit dangerous. And but, you know, when you're fighting a preferred position, you feel like you got pushed off. You're going to do everything you can to get back on. So right now, all hopes for Alpine lie in the hands of Major Castleman. But the Red Bulls in P1 and P10. But Duncan McCammon with the 3-second time penalty. So right now, if the race were to end right now, Aaron Altmaier, Jason Peltzer, and Cal Labib would all jump the boss into P10. He would drop all the way down to P13 with that 3-second time penalty, assuming it doesn't get removed by the stewards.
Yeah, we'll see this. We'll see them spread out too as we get more 7 laps more of green flag racing here. But I'm looking at Peter Giordano, who's now making up time on Maxime in front of him. They're both on 21-lap old inters. They don't look that early. I mean, look, these guys are masters at controlling the car and keeping them stable, glued to the track. But from my amateur eyes, they look okay right now. Hudson's gapped a second on Dago. That's a 13-lap tire difference there. So maybe that strategy is starting to work.
You're going to look at Eric Perez, who's been on an absolute tear. Started P19, went to the back of the field with a wing change, all the way up into P8 and holding strong within 1 second of Eric Carvalho, who does have that 3-second time penalty. Again, we know some of these penalties potentially will get removed depending on where they're picked up because, as you mentioned, turn 4, 5, 6 can be an instant 3-second penalty on your first warning. Side-by-side action there from Ian Krager and Major Castleman. Good job to keep it clean. No wheel bangs, no touches. And there's a little bit of a hip check, and Major Castleman is off, but does keep it clean out of the wall enough to not receive damage. Here comes Eric Carvalho around the outside. Takes the spot from Major Castleman. So grab 2 Ferraris at P4, P5. Eric Carvalho up into P6. Major Castleman drops down to P7, and Eric Perez is looking to pounce.
Wow, we just talked about how crucial it was, too, to carry speed through turn 8. When you battle through it, you can't carry him enough speed. But Major Castleman burning some battery, making that position stick against Era. Let's take a look at the tires there. Are they on the same strat? No. Maybe tires actually came into play there.
Oh, no, and then we've got somebody into the wall. It's Eric Carvalho out of the session after a great move to take that spot. The Mercedes is out of the session, and that is another safety car. 4 in Division 1. Normally the cleanest of the clean, the fastest of the fast, but tonight the slowest of the slow, because this race is going to take forever as we have another safety car. So, folks, you know what time it is. Drink. All right, will
Yeah,
anybody
just
dive into
an
the pit? It's
incredible
too
move.
late for Hudson Poole, Jeffrey Lawler, Maxime, Peter Giordano, Ian Krieger cannot stop. Everybody is going to stay out right now. Eric Carvalho has got to be absolutely livid. The Brazilian driver was having a really great race all the way from P20 up into, I believe, P9 at the time, and out of the race and done is the Mercedes driver. So one Mercedes left. All hopes reside with the person in P3 who I'm not going to talk about, look at, or mention at all, because it seems like that is when things go sideways. But a pair of Ferraris, P4, P5, great recovery for them over the past couple of weeks. They need to make up some massive points here. Currently sitting P4 in the constructors behind Alpine, but Alpine's not done yet. Jeffrey Lawler on for another podium. Aaron Altmaier looking to get in that P10 and P11 currently. So as the drivers make it around this time again, we're going to ask you once again, give us a moment to like and subscribe. You guys are going to be so full of cold drinks and tater chips before this is over. But this has been exciting, Buffalo.
Yeah, Leaky Valve actually made a sneaky good pit stop here because he had that 20-second gap, so he was able to get fresh inters without losing any track position under safety car. So good move from him. And this is actually kind of good for Thermo too, right? He's currently sitting at P17 after that incident, but now fresh front wing, fresh tires. He kind of needed this to be able to make up any sort of position. Otherwise, he was going to be stuck at the end. So he may be able to improve here. This is good for Thermo.
And so just from a personally, I don't know how I want to put it, selfish point of view, I do want to give Codemasters and EA their props when they're due. This track, compared with so many others that we've broadcast over the seasons, actually has decent broadcast cameras where you can see a little bit of depth of field. You can see the cars actually doing stuff. You're not just stuck on one corner and like, well, there's no one there. Why are we watching this? And so I've been on broadcast a lot more than on board than I typically do in a session. And so I think for once, Codemasters got it right. Lots of good chopper shots, a lot of good chase shots, a lot of high angles where you can see, half to 3/4 of the grid because everything's so tight. Because again, this is safety car and number 4 for tonight. So Hudson Poole doing a good job so far. He is going to earn the title of Rain God over Jeffrey Lawler, Maxime, who did I have in there? Hudson Poole, Jeffrey Lawler, Major Castleman, and Ian Krieger quietly up into P5, right behind his team principal. Now, so here's the question if you're Peter and Ian. Ian currently sitting P3 in the championship. Peter Giordano, the 2-time Division 1 champion, sitting in P11 with only 23 points. Do you invert the cars at the start and let Peter or Ian try to put pressure on Maxime, or as Peter, as a racer, do you think as a racer first and want to hold on to that lead?
I don't want to be in that chat, Revis. I have no idea how they're going to play it. I know they race each other hard in practice, but they're both incredibly quick, and I don't know if on any given day you could pick one over the other. So because they're so close, I would say they're going to race unless one gets a really good run on one or someone goes wide. I think they're going to race.
All right, we're going to see because, folks, it is safety car in this lap. 4-lap sprint in the wet to decide who wins at Australia. So currently 146 points for Red Bull, 130 for the Alpines. Luke Locklear down in P17. Going to be really hot after the race. Needs to cool down and focus up here. Try to make up as many spots as he can. 104 points in the constructor standing. I don't know why I'm telling you. I can just show you real quick. There we go right there. As they come around, we'll keep an eye on the mini map in the bottom corner, but there's your constructor. So 146, 130, 104, 95 for the Ferraris, 83 for the McLarens, who are not sitting great right now. But if you're Alfa Romeo, you're looking potentially in P14 and P8 to maybe jump Mercedes here as Eric Carvalho is out of the session.
Love to see it. Not that Era's out, but that Alpha's jumping the Mercs. You would absolutely love to see that. Jack in P8 would be a strong finish for him so far this season. We knew he was capable of it. He's had the pace as we start to restart now.
All right, look, a couple of spots dropped there. Jason Pelter loses the spot to Aaron Altmaier. And here goes, oh no, Pelter, the Gator, what happened? What happened to Gator? He's gone into pit. Interesting strategy there. It has some wing damage. Okay, right end plate missing from that McLaren powered by Ferrari for this season because, well, ZRL likes to do goofy things. Maxime has done a good job here to hold on to P3, and there's a yellow flag for who? For what?
Another yellow. I know that. I think we got the standings still up too, Rebus, as we were
dear.
reviewing those. But yeah, I wonder if Gator got a little bit of wing damage while trying to keep his tires warm, right? Maybe nicked it a little bit on the wall because he kind of went right in as soon as it restarted. So Thermo already gaining 2 positions on the 2 McLarens that have had incidents.
And they did swap the cars there at Ferrari. I don't know if it was intentional or just maybe how things worked out, but it's Ian Krager. We're right on board with Peter Giordano. Watching ahead as Ian Krager is going to put a ton of pressure here on Maxime. Maxime with 2 million followers on TikTok, we found out this weekend. A very interesting dude, makes some funny videos. And if you're able to find him, you'll find out he makes some really funny content. But right now, nothing funny. He is trying to go hard and go fast as Barney Goatmere has a moment there in Sector 2. We'll get a look at him in just a moment and see what's happening because we don't want to miss out this action here as Ian Krager is looking to claim the title of Rain God with a huge recovery here. Maxime on the older tires. We'll show them real quick. 25 laps for Maxime, 20 for Ian Krager. So we're kind of at the point where the wear isn't a huge difference now. But Ian Krager looking to push, looking to pass Maxime. But Maxime, the Canadian, going to try to make that car super wide and keep that Ferrari at bay.
Also a lot of action going on between P7 and P8. Jack Pemberton had Eric Perez for a hot second, but Eric currently remains in P7. If I was in the Alpha chat, I would tell Jack to be careful. We've seen Eric be very... He races pretty hard.
The leaky valve has retired in the pits. Interesting. Okay, he's
Looks
done.
like it.
See you, bye.
I wonder if he'll still be classified for the session, because I believe this comes close to 90%, so maybe he thought that he didn't have a shot at P16, and he's saving the engine wear. But currently Hudson Poole in the lead, and he's opened up a 2.5 gap to Dago, even on the 13-lap older tires, so Hudson Poole's strategy has been on point the whole night.
Yep, so if you finish 26.1 laps, you technically qualify, 90% of the race done, so there will be points there. And there is Luke Locklear on a tear and momentarily and almost loses the spot back to Jordan Angus, but he's ahead of Jordan Angus, the Sleek Warlock. So that's 5 positions gained here on the restart. Around the bend, he comes 2 laps to go. Can Luke Locklear make up any other spots? He's got some really quick guys ahead, but he's also looking ahead at P9 and that 3-second time penalty for Duncan McCamick, looking to inherit a free position there. Free real estate on the penalties. Leaky Valve was the only other one with penalties on track. So currently, the only person on the grid with penalties is Duncan McCamick. So he's got to do a lot of work here to make up a gap, to make something happen. Ian Krager still just happy to sit behind Major Castleman, trying to go to work. Peter Giordano picks a 3-second time penalty up. And if you're Major Castleman,
huge.
you are jumping for joy in your seat as high as the seatbelts will allow. Eric Perez in P7 up from P19. Also going to inherit a position there. So the Williams driver, Dago picks up a penalty. That's a huge penalty.
There's huge battles going on for P7, P8, and P9, Revis. Jack just lost out to Duncan on there. Duncan made a really smooth move on the inside in turn 2, and will start to close the gap to Eric Perez. Jack not fighting too hard. He knows he got that 3 seconds, but I know he wanted that position on the track, and now he's going to find himself under pressure, not only just from Graz, who's 5/10 behind, but Thermo, who's now 3/10 behind him.
Cal Habib lost a whole bunch of spots and picked up 6 seconds of time penalties all in one lap. So Cal, back-to-back winner, Division 3, Division 2, but things not really going his way. Maxime too far back currently to benefit from the 3-second penalty of Jeffrey Lawler, but Ian Krager thinks he can make up that gap here in just a little over one lap.
Oh! Wow. A lot of wheel banging there. Ian went on the inside of Maxime, and then they kind of locked tires a little bit, and he's going to make the move stick, or is he? He's currently in P3. Maxime pushed along to the outside. He'll be on the inside line going into the penultimate turn of the lap. Can he make it stick? Ian's got more pace. I think Ian's got the exit speed, and he's going to pull into P3.
And here comes Peter Giordano trying to make a move on the Mercedes of Maxime. Can he do anything into the braking zone? He's going to have to be really brave on the brakes. And there it is. He goes down the inside. Takes the spot from the Mercedes. Maxime runs wide. Here comes Major Castleman trying to get himself into this fray. It's the final lap. There goes Eric Perez out of the session, spinning around. Maxime loses 2 spots down into P6. He was P3, but those old tires just don't have the grip that he needs right now. So the 2 Ferraris move up into P3, P4. Here comes Duncan McCamick up into P6. Major Castleman and Duncan McCamick fighting side by side. Major Castleman into the wall. There goes Duncan McCamick into P6. Here comes Jack Pemberton trying to capitalize on the wheel bang. Major Castleman back in the front. And there goes a dive down the inside. Luke Locklear out of nowhere.
It's Thermo. That was a top-tier Sebastian Vettel moment, just coming out of absolute nowhere. He's all the way up into P7, back with his teammate in P6. Duncan currently in P8, and I've been riding on board with Jack, who's had a front row seat to all this action as Graz comes to the party, and he tries to take P9. A lot of battles going on down here in the long chicane.
No. Jordan Angus and Anand Trivedi into the wall. Jordan Angus is done and smashed into the wall at P14 on the final lap. But here we come around the final time for the final turns. It is Hudson Poole with an easy win. 3 seconds ahead of Jeffrey Lawler. Dago comes in at P2, a pair of Ferraris in P3 and P4. But wait, folks, there are penalties. So it is going to be Hudson Poole from Jeffrey Lawler, from Ian Kreger. Temporarily, it will be Peter Giordano. But welcome to P4 and welcome to a race finish with no wheel disconnects for Maxime B. Major Castleman at P5. Luke Locklear from the back of the pack at the safety car all the way up into P6 with some amazing bravery, maybe a little foolhardy, but a couple of moves that are going to be questionable. But the Alpines at P5 and P6, Duncan McCamick at P11, making up a ton of points. That gap between Red Bull and Alpine has now tightened, folks. This battle is on, not just tonight, but for the rest of the season. Great racing, some questionable moves, some argy-bargy. But here we are. That was the most exciting rain race I think I have ever called in my history of Zoom Racing League. And there he is, the Hudson Hornet, once again doing what the Hudson Hornet does. And that is putting that thing on podium and on the top step. And no stranger to any of us is Dago, Jeffrey Lawler in the Aston Martin. Another podium, another P2. And P3 goes to a boat boy, Ian Kreger. We asked earlier if they were going to swap the cars. And not only is your 1, 2, 3 in the race, this is your 1, 2, 3 in the standings. Right now it is Hudson Poole from Jeffrey Lawler from Ian Kreger. So the top 3 in the standings, top 3 in the race, Buffalo Trace. What a result.
Can we talk about Alpine for a second? And how Thermo came out of nowhere. And Major Castleman, as he always does, holding up a top P5. And there they are, the teammates, P5, P6. I knew that safety car was perfect for Thermo to make a move. But I'll admit, I didn't think he was going to go all the way up to P6. That was crazy. I got to replay that on stream. I was on with Jack, and I saw Thermo come by on the right-hand side after turn 8, and that was an incredible performance, an incredible move. Really fun to watch.
Oh, I got a second here. I'm going to bring up the race director on stream just so we have a copy of it, because we had a couple of them that looked kind of questionable. We saw Cal get 6 seconds in a matter of 1 lap.
Yeah.
Hopefully they got all that, and everybody can take a look. So the first one we're going to bring in is the boy we like to call Boat Boy. He is P3 in the standings, P1 in his team principal, Peter Giordano's heart. So we at the last safety car restart, you guys were sitting P5 and P4, and we questioned if Peter was just going to wave you around because you're so much higher in the standings, and it seemed like that was the call, and you had put a ton of pressure on Maxime, who had the worn tires. But Ian Kreger, here you are on the podium once again, P3. How you feeling, buddy?
Feeling amazing.
Oh, you're super quiet.
Qualifying was not the best, but when it said 88% of heavy rain, I was like, I don't trust this game. And then I pretty much had a full wet setup the whole race in Inter, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it was good work from you guys. Ferrari kind of down in the championship from where we expected you guys to be. I mean, let's don't talk about my team, but currently sitting a P4 in the constructors. And so with that really good finish from you and Peter, you guys are going to be starting to put some pressure on Alpine, on Aston Martin, and looking to move up into P3. How are you feeling with the game overall? Do you feel like you and Peter are starting to get into a groove?
At the end of the race, I think I was, but at the start, there was pretty much no grip though. Maybe until lap 10, there was more grip, but first 10 laps, I had no grip.
Yeah, Ian, I thought, did you notice the tire difference? Because I think it was you that came in and it was Peter that stayed out the entire time. Did you notice the grip difference on the Inters, or do you think that you also could have made the entire session without pitting?
I don't think I could have. I mean, Peter did, but he has different tire pressure, so it's all up in the air. But I was P16, first safety car, and I had nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose, everything to
Yeah.
gain.
Yeah.
Really nice job, Ian. Great P3. We missed you up here.
Yeah.
Well, good to see you. Good result, and Ferrari is back, folks, and both of them outperforming expectations based on what we've seen. Seems like the two of you getting some weird little incidents here and there. Qualify well every week, but this week turned out pretty good. So happy for you, and another podium for Ferrari. So keep pushing, dude, and thanks for stopping by.
Well, one more thing.
Yes, please.
I have no line on, so that race was no line completely.
Really?
Nice
Yeah.
work.
Nice job,
So,
man.
This is a big deal for Ian because he and I we had a community event, and he jumped in. This was in ACC, and we were at Hungaroring. It was the same weekend that we raced Hungaroring here, and he jumped in and was freaking out because line was turned off in the settings, and he didn't expect it. And this dude was flying probably faster than I've ever seen him fly in ACC, and all of a sudden it clicked. And so is this going to be from now on, like you're just going no line and you're finally figuring out like I don't need that, quote unquote nanny to help me. Like I'm just a good enough driver that I can pick my spots.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the racing line was limiting my race pace a lot.
That's good to know, dude. Well, that's awesome. So I'm glad to know that we accidentally made you better. That makes me sad for my team. But good job, dude, and good job turning off another assist. The more you can turn off, I think the faster you go, especially when you're dedicated to your craft. So good work, dude, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Nice job, Ian.
All right, we're going to talk to the man that led a whole lot of the race, had great pace. We missed the overtake when Hudson took the spot from you. Do you think there was a big difference in your guys' setups, Dago, between you and Hudson, or was it just purely down to like a comfort level of the track and the conditions?
Let me sum it up for you. I ran a full dry setup. Didn't change no wing, no tires,
Wow.
nothing. I was just like, F it, we're gonna send it. And it was the wrong choice, but I knew that because I didn't really have a wet setup, so I didn't want to mess anything up with mine, and I just wanted to drive it. So um, I knew Hudson had a lot more pace, and I knew that the others behind me were at the first stint before the safety cars were close, so I just let him by on the straight. There was no point fighting him. That was just gonna hurt my race in the long run. So I just stuck with him the whole time, and my engineer, shout out to Zex, he made the right call on the tires, at least for my end, being on a dry setup. And yeah, it paid off. So
Oh,
Yeah, I asked
happy
Ian
with it.
about the tires too, Dago, kind of to see if he noticed a difference in grip between the old inters and then the new inters when you pick, because we saw some guys go the whole way. Now your situation is different because you had the dry setup, right? So did you notice a difference in tires, or do you think you could have just gone the rest of the way and been fine?
not on a dry setup. No, definitely. The one stop was definitely the choice, especially in the position I was, where I was so far ahead that I only lost one position. But it was funny because in the pits, my same button for the MFD is the same button for the pit. So I was like trying to make sure I had inters on, and I clicked it, and it was like a 3 second stop. Like so, I think that costed me the spot with Maxime. But I mean, in the end, it didn't matter. So, but yeah, definitely there's a big difference in the tires. But I managed to get it and keep it straight.
yeah, it worked out nice. You were at a setup disadvantage, but never ever have we seen you be at a skill disadvantage. So expect to keep seeing you there. It was interesting to watch you guys finish 1, 2, 3, because currently that's how the standings ring out. However, your teammate finished much lower than Peter Giordano. So right now, Aston Martin sitting P3 in the championship. Peter Giordano picking up a few extra points, and Graz is going to move Ferrari just a little bit closer to you. Is that something the two of you even think about as far as the constructors, or are you mainly focused on individual performance and maximizing points individually?
Every race we're always going back helping each other on setup strategies. Mainly him. He's a big help with me when it comes to strategies and setups beforehand to prepare me. So I honestly think that we're just doing the best we can for the team. Obviously we're drivers and we're trying to get there individually in that drivers construction or the championship. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think that there's just been because of where he qualies, because he's really good on race pace, and then quali, it's right now it's difficult for him, but I'd imagine he'd get it around at some point. But it's just especially in the midfield, even in a wet race, or just the midfield in general, it's just crazy. Like I've seen it, like I'm there, if I start P4, P5, I'm gonna get taken out by an Alpine, So I can only imagine what's happening P12 and P8, So yeah, I definitely think we're just doing the best we can for the team, and just stuff happens. So
I know your team principal Joel Guron is super happy, and I feel like with what would we have 8 more races to go, we're probably going to talk to you at least 6 or 8 more times. So Dago, another good job here at P2, currently P2 in the championship, and continue to push, man. Aston Martin looking good right now.
thank you.
Nice job, man.
All right, and here we go. Once again, it is starting to feel like a meme. It is starting to feel like routine. And unlike your race on Saturday, that was kind of a disaster at Albert Park, this one, the real race, the one that really matters, here in Zoom Racing League, Hudson Pool, rather than getting used and abused, you abused the field and went to P1. Talking to Dago, he said he was running a dry setup, as was Maxime. Obviously, the wet setup was the way to go. Didn't feel great in qualifying, I assume, but great in the race.
Yeah, I ran a pretty high downforce setup for the wet, and I had no straight line speed for quali, and I mean it felt great, but I was so slow in the straight, so I expected to quali low and make it up in the race, and I mean the setup really helped me out. Props to Cody.
Hudson, I've been asking everybody about tires. When in the race did you know you were going to go the whole way without stopping, or was that the plan all along?
So in the beginning, we were thinking of doing a one stop, and then when that first safety car came out, I kind of pooped my pants, and I probably should have pitted. And for the rest of the race, I was trying to tire save, and then luckily we got a couple safety cars there at the end, so I didn't have to save as bad towards the end.
Well,
Yeah, it worked out great for you. You're able to gap up pretty much. Did you think that Jeffrey Lawler was going to be able to pressure you a little bit with the fresh tires, or it really didn't seem like it had that much of an impact?
When I saw him pit for the new tires, I was just thinking, because of the setups, I gotta just like use my ERS in the straights, and then if I can keep it clean through the corners, I can stay ahead of him. But I was a bit worried because he's a very quick guy, so I didn't really know what to expect.
Well, we know what to expect when we see you on the grid and we see you with the kind of pace you had early on. I believe you started around a P5 and ended up with another win. The Hudson Hornet continues to dominate, extending the lead in the Drivers' Championship. However, Duncan McCamick had some little argy-bargy, little shovey, pushy, fell down the order a little bit, and the Alpine boys made up some good spots, and they're fighting you guys for the constructors. How much, if at all, do you guys talk about the constructors, or is it mainly focused right now for you and a little bit for Duncan on how far up individually you can fly and you repeating as a champion?
So me and Duncan, we both want to secure the constructors championship in Division One. I'm not entirely sure what happened with him in the race, because I was mainly just talking with Cody, and but yeah, but um, I'm pretty sure Duncan had a few moments, and it cost him a few places, maybe some incidents with other drivers. Not 100% sure, but I think we can secure it. Alpine and can be a real battle, and possibly Mercedes really coming up now with Maxime getting a new wheel, and you did finish today, so that was really good from him. So I wouldn't say that we have it secured, nor do we think that we're out for the fight.
That's awesome to hear. So, insider information, I'll let you know right now, Maxime did not run the new wheel tonight. His old wheel actually held up, and we think it is actually, and this is free information for all of you out there that are having Logitech issues. If you're running Streamlabs, that is the only thing I advised him to do to change differently. I haven't talked to him yet, but it seems to make a difference. His wheel plate is waiting to come in. He has all his gear, but his wheel plate on his Next Level Racing FGT rig was incorrect. He doesn't have the properly aligned holes. So, Hudson, I'm letting you know right now, Mercedes is on the hunt. It's a big gap to make up, but you've been doing great. You've been doing your team proud, and you've been doing a good job to defend your championship. And it looks like you are on the road to be a back-to-back champion, along with Mr. Peter Giordano here in Division One. Great job tonight, and go celebrate, enjoy yourself, and probably need to get to bed pretty soon. You probably got school tomorrow.
Yeah, it's first day of school tomorrow.
There you go. Well, you can walk around and strut with your head held high on your way to math class. Hudson Hornet, Hudson Pool, the young lad from California, wins again. Good job, dude, and we will talk to you again soon.
Yep, thank you.
Nice, man.
All right, Buffalo Trace. I know it wasn't ideal for Alfa Romeo. It wasn't ideal for Mercedes. Definitely not ideal for Alpha Tauri. But here we are. That is round 4 in the books. Australia is done. We are no longer down under, mate. No longer in the home of Eruption, Davies, Corrupt, and Combined YouTuber. And we are leaving, and we are packing up, and we are going elsewhere. But what are your thoughts so far, or at the end? Not so far. At the end here of the weekend in Australia.
I loved it. It's not a track that I particularly like, but it sure as heck delivered this weekend. I think we had great races all the way through, all 6 actually, Div E included. Really fun driving around here, capped off by the D1 guys, showing what they got in the wet. It was incredible. The finish was incredible. I think the performances we saw from Hudson, from Dago, the Ferraris getting back on track, and Thermo making that insane push from the rear on the safety car all the way to P6. It was incredible.
Yep, really good stuff. This is the track. If you guys tuned in with our combined podcast with ORL, this is the track that made me quit and uninstall the game at least 4 different times. The newly reprofiled corners, though, kind of nice, a decent change, but a track that I finally feel like I almost have a handle on, but I no longer have to handle it because we are moving on as I have to block somebody in the chat. Let's go ahead and delete all those. That's weird. And we are moving on to Brazil, Interlagos, a fun track, a track that all of these drivers love, always leads to great racing here in Zoom Racing League. And folks, not only are we headed there, we're headed there for a full qualifying session. So the setup, the pace is even more important because we're going 3 rounds, and each time we're saying goodbye to 5 to see who can be the fastest of the fast in Brazil. And that is coming up next week. We're saying goodbye for now from down under. The shrimps are off the bobby. It's shut down. Nothing killed us. No animals, no kangaroos jumping across the fence and into the way. No echidnas, nothing like that. Just good racing, good wet weather here in Division 1 of Zoom Racing League. Thank you for being with us, and good night, folks.